Hey, what's up, guys, and welcome to the Scream Scene. I'm Jody Dean. Today, I am joined by Scott Chambers. This guy here has done some amazing stuff. He's actually a really good actor. I had heard his name floating around in the producer circuit, but I was checking out some of the acting. I'm like, dude's good. Um, but he's attached to some huge success going on right now. Actually, one of my favorites, Blood and Honey 1, 2. Were you involved in Blood and Honey 1 as well?
Oh, only as a producer, yeah. I didn't act in number one.
I thought I had seen your name attached to that, but in part 2, you're not only on the producer side of things. How are you involved, and how did that whole thing come together?
Yeah, so with Winnie One, basically what happened was that year I produced about 47 feature films. And I also acted in a film called Dr. Jekyll and a TV show called Malpractice. It was a really busy year. And amongst all that chaos, Winnie the Pooh was just one of the films that we just like did. And it was made in 6 days on £20,000. And yeah, it was meant to be a VOD film, and then one night we woke up and it had gone massively viral, and it was just nuts. And we were like, "Shit! Like people are going to see it because like it was a cheap little film." So we tried to do some quick reshoots, and we made it the best we possibly could. And I think like with the circumstances and everything, it really was the best film it probably could have been. Um, but then when we got to the sequel, the director Reese, he said that he wanted to kind of like restart the Winnie the Pooh film in a way, and he said that like he's got some money because the sequel had about $400,000, so it's not a high budget, but it's still much better than the first one. And he said like because he had that money, he wanted to try and make the first like try and do what he would have done with the first one if he had the money in the first place. So he was like, I want to need a new Christopher Robin. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And I thought, because I do the casting for these films. So I was like, okay, cool. I've got to get Christopher Robin. And then he was like, no, I want you to do it. And I was like, oh, and I was a bit nervous just because the first one had such a Marmite reception. And I felt like I was put myself in a bit of a trap where like people would just want to be horrible about me. So I was a bit like, because I was producing, I'm like very confident, but with my acting, I'm a bit like protective over it because that was the thing that I've done for longest, and I take it very, very serious and stuff. So yeah, that's how I got. But I ended up just saying yeah to Christopher Robin, and yeah, I had fun doing it.
Dude, so I'm not saying that this just because you're on here, but I was super impressed with your acting, man. I
Oh,
think even
thanks.
the trailer and stuff, I was like, oh, okay, I like this adjustment they made here. But now that you're explaining it, man, you guys made a lot of. I loved the first film.
Oh, thanks.
There's so many films I go out there and I see, and I'm a fan, and then I'll see what people like. Critics are so harsh, man. I sometimes I don't
Oh.
like the same movie.
Yeah, no, I honestly like I just was watching earlier the Underworld film, and like if you like it's so fun and nuts and stuff. They gave it like 17% on Rotten Tomatoes, but I don't know, like these films really aren't for the critics. And like I think from the first one, like we got put on like this massive pedestal, and we'd never even been remotely close to that type of level of exposure before. So it was a lot to take on, like the amount of hate we got and horrible comments and all this kind of stuff. And it was quite difficult because like they're comparing it to other films, like we literally got a direct comparison to like Five Nights at Freddy's. That's 35 million. Do you mean like we had 20 grand?
Right.
And yeah, I feel like some of the critic reviews were like over the top, and I feel like they wanted it to be nasty because it was Winnie the Pooh, and they're like, "Oh, you're just cashing in," and it was like, well, the first one, it was like it was all about me trying to like make my company known. It wasn't actually cashing in. Like I don't actually earn like what people I think I earn from these. It was like basically I had in my head like as a producer, I wanted to make 100 feature films by a certain age, and I'd done that, but my company still wasn't anywhere. And the reason I'd done the 100 feature films was because I was like, if I ever get the chance to go in a room and pitch for proper money, I need them to believe in me. And I haven't had like, I didn't want to go down that route of like doing a short film and maybe it gets into Sundance, probably not. Do you know what I mean? Like I didn't want to bother doing that. So I just think that's really like over congested, and I think it is what it is, and it's just not for me. So I just started doing feature films on like £5,000, £10,000, 20, 50. They'd always be below 100. But yeah, I did 100 feature films, and then after that, my whole goal was to get my company a bit like known. I wanted to be like someone where it was like, oh, you did that film. So then I started doing like Humpty Dumpty, Jack and Jill, and all these types of films. And I was putting effort into them, like, but you know, I was making a lot of films a year because I wasn't really earning much money from it. Like some films I didn't even earn anything from them. So, you know, it was, you know, I was just trying to pay my bills at the same time. Do you know what I mean? Like I was, it was like a mix of things. I was trying to get myself known. I was trying to prove a point. I was trying to earn some money and all this kind of stuff. And then it came out and they're like, you're this, you're that. It's like, Jesus, you don't even chat to me yet. You don't know me, but whatever. so whatever.
Yeah, where's the credit for? I mean, all right. First off, people told me my entire life, Jody, you're just so overly ambitious. But dude, 100 feature films. I kind of went down the rabbit hole about you, and I heard that, and I was like, dude, he's wild. That's my kind of people, right? Love it.
Yeah.
But whether it's successful or not, where's all the credit you get for that? Making a feature film is hard, no matter if it is low budget or big budget.
Yeah, like it's so refreshing someone actually saying this, because like normally I really don't think people get it. Like I say like, oh, I did 100 feature films, and they're like, and it's like, honestly, it's mad. Like I did not have a life for about 5 years. Like I've just worked so incredibly hard at this. And I think people just see Winnie the Pooh and think, you know, I just did Winnie the Pooh, but I really didn't. Like by the top point of doing Winnie the Pooh, I think I've done like 114 films. And they're all feature films. They all got distributed. And yeah, like I got on a lot of those films, I got conned. I didn't even earn money. Like we didn't even get our budget back. Like, you know, and I had people coming up after me, like legal, saying like, you know, where's my money? And I was like, I don't have it. Like it's not earned anything. So it was like, yeah, it was like extremely challenging and stuff. But I feel like finally, like all of that has kind of got me where I want to be. And now like I'm finally getting access to bigger budgets. Like with Pooniverse, we're getting like 1.5 million. So it's like, for me, like 1.5 million, because I've worked on so little for so long. I do not waste money on my film sets, like at all. Every single penny goes on the camera. That's why, like, you know, like the PR people for Winnie 2, they said, oh, the budget was 1 million. It wasn't 1 million, but I do believe like you could believe it was. Do you know what I mean? But like, because I've worked on so little, like me doing 400K, I feel like probably is to someone that hasn't made a film before, probably is an equivalent to them having 1 million, if that makes sense. So yeah, but yeah, it's nice that you're saying that.
It absolutely, man. Yeah, no, I got a lot of respect for it, and I'm happy to hear that the company's now where you wanted it to be. I mean, it goes to prove if it's hard enough, whatever your vision is, you just can't give up. If you give up, of course, it's not going to happen. But I mean, look at you, dude. Over 100 feature films. If one of them hit, you're good. And obviously, this one hit enough to where it's like, okay, let's see what he can do now with more money.
Yeah, exactly.
That,
that's the thing. No, exactly. That's the thing. It's like, with it all, it's like I really come from like, my parents aren't wealthy. My mum and dad do normal jobs. Like I really like forced my way into this industry. Like when I first tried to get into it, like as an actor, it felt so just you couldn't get in. It was inaccessible, really. That's how it felt, and it felt like, you know, it was for, you had to have a certain amount of money just to live, because it was like, you know, you've got such big gaps in between jobs and stuff. So I truly do come from like, it's all self-made and everything. But yeah, like I think anyone watching this and stuff, if they want to make a film, like you can, like even on a mobile phone, like just do it. Like, do you know what I mean? Like even if you just put on YouTube or something, like just get the experience of making a feature film. Like it is difficult, and like the big thing that you've got to remember is that a lot of people on these low budget sets, like they're not. it can be you've got to find good people really, and I've been able to do that along the way. But I've worked with a lot of people that really didn't care about these films, and like they were really difficult on the day and the pressures and stuff. But yeah, you've got to find good people. Work with good people is my main thing. I would say, like, work with friends, find friends, and do it.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, yeah. You are who you hang around with, man. So you surround yourself with
Yeah,
good people.
totally.
Yeah, I love that, dude. Well, as a filmmaker myself, man, it's been very inspirational to see somebody do what you said. Take a low budget and do something huge with it. It gives other people hope out there that are trying to do the same thing. Like, look, one of these things you're doing can hit, and all it
Mhm.
takes is one. You give up,
Yeah.
that ain't gonna happen, obviously. So I think that should be very inspirational to all your friends and family and everybody that's watched you go through this struggle, but everybody watching this, like, hey, there is hope. You can do this.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it really is. Like the industry, it might seem like, God, how do you get in and stuff? But it's like, don't worry about it. Like, just force your way in. Like, get any money. Like, you probably will need a couple of grand or something just to make your first film. But like, my first film was made on, I think it was like £4,000, like that, and it got distributed. I didn't earn any money from it, but it got distributed, and then it was on shelves as a DVD, and then other people gave me money because they're like, "Oh, you did that, so I'll give you money." Da da da. And like one thing can lead to another, but I just think take any opportunity, just go out there and just. You will have to work for free for a lot. Like I honestly, like the first probably 30 movies I did, I didn't get paid at all. But again, it was just like keep trying, like work with different distributors, work with different sales agents, find out who's not going to con you. And understanding contracts is like it's really difficult because how they word some of this stuff is you don't realize until the film's out, and then you get your royalty report and you go, I see what you did there. But
Yeah.
yeah, and it's hard because I didn't have money to get like anyone to help me read these contracts properly and all that, and I learned the hard way. But just keep going, and yeah, it can happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Just getting a lawyer to read a contract that thick, man, it would cost you about 5 G's. So, I mean,
Yeah.
for an, there you go. There's 5 grand that could have ended up on the screen.
Yeah, exactly.
Uh,
Yeah.
well, all right. So let me ask you this, man. You've got all these other projects. I've seen you got a lot cooking. Like,
Uh-huh.
are you going to get any downtime at any point?
No, like I'm still like, even though I'm doing less films, like I was doing like, yeah, like last year I think I did like 32 feature films or something like that. So it was a step down from the year before. But this year I think the goal is I kind of I started the year with like a bunch of films that I did. I think I did about four, five, and then I was getting really bogged down with the work and stuff. And we were trying to do like the big ones like Bambi, and I'm directing Peter Pan in like 2 weeks and stuff. And I was like, I can't actually do these anymore, like these cheap little films. Like there's not enough in it for me to even do them. Like it was more like I have that like fear of missing out syndrome. I say yes to everything sort of thing. So I cancelled my contracts, and it was a really hard thing to do because like again, like for me, it's like it's scary to like say no to work because for so long I've been begging for work. So yeah, I said no to contracts. I probably had about eight outstanding. I had to do 8 feature films. I said no to all of them so that I could focus on what I've got coming up. So now this year, all I'm doing is I've done Bambi. I'm doing Peter Pan in a week and a half, and then I'm doing Pooniverse and Pinocchio. I'm doing those this year. So it sounds like a lot still, like 4 feature films, but to me, like I was doing 30, 40 films. Do you know what I mean? So it's a big thing, like a step down, but my life doesn't feel like it's changed because obviously the scope of the films are getting higher. So there's like more locations, more actors, more legal things you got to deal with, and it gets more intense, like with the scale. So but yeah.
And I think at this point right now, man, like just outside looking in, even though like I'm just chatting with you, I feel like you know what films to pick at this point too. And you're
Yeah.
like, it sounds like you gotta you pick the right catalog to move forward with, man. I mean, those are all films that have got me hyped. Like when I seen a little promotion, I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Like Peter Pan and Pinocchio. And I think that's awesome. And it's such a window of opportunity that these things have
Uh-huh.
kind of become available too. And if they're done in a certain way, it's like you can actually do it right now. So you chose your windows like very carefully too, and very methodical.
Yeah, no, I work very like backwards. Like, I always think of like what the poster is, what the trailer is, and this might help anyone watching sort of thing. If you want to make a film, like, I always think like, are people going to watch this sort of thing? Are people going to pick it up on the shelf or on the streaming service? Is the poster going to stand out? And I work backwards like that. A lot of filmmakers they go, oh, you know, they focus on an idea that they've come up with, that they believe in, blah 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 blah. But I work very backwards, and I'll kind of convince myself, yeah, that's one that I feel like would do well, and then I'll try and find something exciting about it. Like there was actually one that we might still do it, so I can't really say much about it, but there's one that I might be giving up on a little bit. Like the idea excited me. We haven't announced it, but when we worked backwards, when we got to the story, I just couldn't find anything that was exciting. It just felt like really like generic and boring, and I was just like, I don't know, maybe I'll just leave that one, just because with this whole kind of like twisted childhood universe that we're creating now, it is about quality and it's about locking people in now. And like, because I do know that a lot of people got burnt with the first one. I totally get it, I totally respect that, but you know that it was £20,000, and like now we're finally getting there. So if you watch Winnie 2 and you still don't like it, okay, maybe it's not for you. But the thing is also in this universe, something that we're doing is every single film is going to be tonally different. It's not going to be like the Conjuring universe where it's kind of like you know exactly what you're going to get from that. This is going to be a bit different. Like for example, the Pooh films, they're a bit more like B movie slashers. Like they're meant to be a wink to like the 80s horror, like Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, stuff like that. And then when you get to Peter Pan's Neverland Nightmare, that's actually for me like I'm using more like French cinema. So like Switchblade Romance is a big comp for me. An Australian film called Hounds of Love is a big comp, and then yeah, an American film called The Black Phone. So it's kind of like those three with my own thing. And like some people have already had some kind of like hit back on the internet saying like, why, you know, he doesn't know what he's doing, like why is he making it so serious, da 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 da. And it's like, well, to me it's like it's hard to make an a man stealing children and saying that he's going to take them to Neverland serious. So
Right.
it felt natural, and that's how I naturally went with that one. So yeah, it's not going to be funny. It's going to be more like I really, really want it to be like disgusting, twisted. The characters in it, the actors I've got, I'm really, really happy with. And if you know the film Hounds of Love, it's an Australian film based on a true crime. That is my Tinkerbell and Peter Pan, basically. So yeah, I'm really excited. But every film's tonally going to be different. Like Pinocchio, that's gonna be so much more fun. Like that's gonna be a really fun film, a bit like Chucky-esque. And then Pooniverse Monsters Assemble. There isn't a film similar. Like I was watching the Underworld earlier just to try and get some inspiration for Pooniverse, because at the minute we have ideas, but we're just brainstorming. But I was like, this still isn't like what we're gonna do. Like we really are gonna make like an Avengers, but with all the horror characters. Like
I love it.
when I was a kid, like I always wanted a film with like Hellraiser, Chucky, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, all these films in one film. I'd love that. But obviously it will never happen because you know they're all owned by different places. But what I can do is like, you know, I can actually make the film that I want. So yeah, it's gonna have all these creatures in it, and we're gonna make some intense massacre scenes. We're gonna have a cool scene where they're all walking down a road in this little village. We're gonna shut down a street, and we're just gonna kill everyone on the street by these villains. It's gonna be some really cool stuff. I'm genuinely, that's the one that I'm probably like, as a horror fan myself, I'm like, yeah, I can't wait. It's different. It's cool. So
Yeah, I'm super stoked, man. That sounds hella proper, dude.
yeah,
You know, as a filmmaker, man, one thing that I keep going back to, because I really started taking it on in my 20s, and so many people said, "Oh, you got to have this amount of money, you got to have this camera." Times have
yeah,
changed. You can do so much, as you already said, with so little. Run and gun indie horror style is the ideal thing to do if you want to make movies and don't have a lot. But with these cameras and the editing and technology and just what we can do with like lighting and color correction nowadays, does it blow your mind, man, that it's easier than ever to say I don't need you?
yeah, yeah. Do you know what? There's so much freedom. Oh, sorry, one sec. My little thing. There's so much freedom in that. Like, honestly, if it was not for like the camera equipment you can get today and how cheap it is and stuff, and like, or to rent it and stuff is so cheap. It's like I would never have never have even, I don't know how I'd have even got to where I am, because that is how I got here. Like the very first film was £5,000. Half that budget was on locations. Do you know what I mean? Like not much. I think it was filmed on a Canon 5D or something. So that was like, it was like 8 years ago. But yeah, so like, yeah, like, I mean, like you really can like go and get a Black Magic. Like they're probably about 2 grand, but you know, you can make a load of films on those and the quality is absolutely fine. And, you know, like you can get it on Amazon and stuff. And you don't need these studios. And I'll tell you, like having met loads of these studios now, they're also scared to give you money anyway. Like they
Right.
want basically guarantee that they're gonna get all this money back and blah 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 blah, and they want names attached and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, you know, you just go and do it, you know, like that's the good thing about independent film. It's like you don't need this backing. If you have a cool idea or you find something interesting, just go and do it. Like, and you don't, if you want, you can guerrilla film it. You can do it in your own flat. I've done that. And
Yeah.
just guerrilla film it on the streets, you know, like it's so accessible, it's so easy to do. And there's no excuse anymore. You can, like anyone can pick up you can do it on your phone if you wanted. But I wouldn't advise that probably, but you can do it on your phone if you wanted.
I love that information, but I also I love that style. It's my favorite. I'm a huge fan of shitty horror films. So many people
Yeah,
that,
same.
oh, you know, Jody, that was terrible. What did you see in it? And I'm like, I've seen creativity. I've seen somebody that
Yeah,
didn't have to work with trying to do what they can. And sometimes you get the best pieces of knowledge from that,
yeah.
especially if you're a maker. So um the last question, because I know you got to go here. Well,
Mm.
actually, what can you say? What camera you guys filmed Winnie the Pooh 2 with? Because I thought that was beautiful.
Oh, yeah, it was an Alexa, an
Oh,
Ari Alexa, I think. It was a decent camera, yeah. I think it was that one. It was, if it wasn't Alexa, it was definitely one of the Aris, like 100% an Ari. The first one was filmed on a Red, but I wouldn't say that, like truly, I wouldn't say there was much different in terms of the actual camera quality. Like I think on Peter Pan we are going to go for the Red again. It's a little bit cheaper. But with the sequel of Pooh, because yeah, we've had that comment quite a lot, like, oh, the first one looks way better. But a lot of it is honestly it's what's actually on the camera. Like this background right now doesn't look high budget, but like if I had wallpaper and I had texture, this would instantly look way better. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's
mhm.
a lot of it. It's like finding good locations, because sometimes the camera quality can be quite marginal and you're going to pay a big premium for that, which is what, oh sorry, one sec.
Mhm.
um yeah, which is what we did. Like we paid a big premium for the Ari compared to the Red, but honestly it was just the locations made it, you know, like we picked really good locations for the sequel, whereas in the first one it was just an Airbnb with white walls and it was just really boring textures, and like also we had masks on the actors and stuff, whereas in the sequel all textures were better. So yeah, Red for the first one and Ari for the second one.
Awesome, man. Well, that's good to know. I thought the footage was great in both of them, so that's cool to hear.
Oh, thanks.
I just got my first Red. I've got many different cameras, but I
Oh
just got my
wow, cool.
step up a little bit. You know what I'm saying? It's about that time. But um,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you mentioned studios.
Mm,
Isn't it funny when you get a hit under your belt, all of a sudden everybody wants a piece of the pie? But you said they're scared and they want guarantees. And how can you guarantee, man? For
yeah,
so long, you couldn't guarantee. And you know, you see one thing take off, and now people are a fan of your film work. So you kind of got somewhat of a guarantee. Right now, you're on a middle ground where it's
yeah,
like, you know, now you've got the director fan base. Oh, I want to see what he's gonna do next. You got the active fan base. Um, but yeah, is it a little weird that all of a sudden people want to give you the time of day just because you know
yeah.
something got a lot of attention?
Well, it's so weird, yeah. Like, because obviously we've been meeting like really big, like dream worthy companies, like ones that I'm like head over heels for. But the reality is when you meet them, they want scripts already, they want cast attached, they want kind of like a lot of the work done. And that is kind of like why you wanted them to come on board in the first place, to kind of help you develop these things and, you know, have money to go and get a decent writer on board and, you know, have a budget in place that you can offer to talent and stuff like that. Like without all these things, it's kind of like, do you mean? But like, still, a lot of it you've got to do it on your own. Like, yeah, like when I went out to LA last year was even more intense than this year. Like last year, I feel like we were meeting like 3, 4 companies a day when we were in LA, like me and Reese. This year it was a bit more calmer, but it was all. I think it was because we met everyone, and they were just like, "Do they have a script? Do they have a script?" And it was like, we want to go and get a writer. Do you know what I mean? Like, we don't want to write this. We're not writers, and that's one thing. But yeah, another thing is like the smaller companies that I've been begging for ages to take note. They're like now like throwing money at us, but it's a bit too late. Like I won't name them, but there's just somewhere like I like for so long when I was working in indie film, I was knocking at these doors, going, please, 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 like here's a feature film link, blah blah blah. I've made this amount of films, don't reply to my emails, not interested, da 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 da. And I'd see them working with like other people similar to me or whatever, but you know, I could never get in for whatever reason. I don't know because I honestly don't understand the reason I couldn't get in. But now they're like, oh, Scott, let's set up a meeting and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, I don't know, like I don't want to make that type of film anymore. Do you know what I mean? Like the Twisted Childhood universe are kind of like the final ones I want to be doing of this kind of caliber. After this, it's like I just want to move up. Like that's the whole game for me. And that's why it's so important that the Twisted Childhood films, the quality is going up and up and up, and you're seeing the budget on camera. But the budget is getting there. Like Pinocchio, I think it's going to have $1 million, like truly going to have $1 million. And I think Pooh 3 is truly going to have $1 million. So all of these childhood films, because it's the type of films where if you go and watch them at the cinema, it really matters. Like I know people say this all the time, but no, it really matters. Like if you want to see more of these, like if you go out and you put the effort in and you watch it, like this is it comes back and it helps people say yes to us. Because when people go, oh, why do they make these shitty films? It's like, if I could get more money, do not think I'm not asking for it. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm asking all the time. Like on Winnie 2, we were like, come on, the first one earned like 6 million at the box office. Like we want $1 million, we want $1 million, da da da. And they're like, no. It was like, you know, like, and that's why we got we actually didn't even have 400k. We went over budget. So we actually got granted like 250k, but we just went over budget massively. But it ends up being 400. But that's what I'm saying. Like out of a 6 million box office, we only got agreed 250, and that is not because that's what I went. Oh yeah, I want, like, you know, as an actor I didn't get paid, producer I didn't get paid, director I didn't get paid, well Reese didn't get paid. Like we didn't get paid for a lot of the stuff we did on these, and that was again to help the budget go down. And it is also another reason why I did the Christopher Robin thing. It was like I'm just seeing it as, oh, it's more budget back to the film because I won't charge. But yeah, it is weird. Like everyone's interested. When we went out to LA last year, everyone was going, how much can I give you to be in the Pooniverse? Like all these big companies, like how much, what do you want? And I was like, oh no, because it's kind of like it's already set up with ITN sort of thing. Like we're very loyal and stuff. Me and Reese, like they've been with us from the beginning, this distribution company. And we're not going to turn our backs. But I was just a bit like, oh no, like, you know. And when you try and redirect their interest into something else, they're just like, have you got a script? Have you got a cast? And it's like, oh my god, like I do not have time to do this. Like, you know, we're doing so much stuff. But yeah. Anyway, it's exciting.
It really is, man. And outside looking in, fellow filmmaker, super proud of you, dude. Congratulations.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, man. And I definitely, I know you got some business to attend to, but I want to circle back around with you maybe for the Peter Pan thing or whatever you got, dude.
Yeah,
I think it's conversation first off, but also your journey makes this a little bit different. Usually somebody's playing one or the other role and you're playing multiple roles and doing whatever it takes to get people out there and bring people back to movie theaters, which that fan base is the strongest with horror. So
yeah, I agree. As a horror fan myself, it's like I always show up every week, whatever the horror film is, I'm there. So yeah, it is a really nice community. So yeah, totally. Probably after Peter Pan will be a good time to talk, so I can tell you how it went. So
yeah, we'll come back for that one, man. But Scott, I appreciate your time, bud, and I look forward to everything you're doing, man. I know big stuff's to come, so keep me in the loop, bro.
All right, see you later. Thank you.
All right, take care.